We see that mental health problems, for example, symptoms of depression, self-harming, emotional conduct problems, weight, sleep problems have all increased in those 10 years. So young people are waking up earlier, sleeping later, getting less than more of them are getting less than the recommended 8 hours of sleep per night. On the other hand, lots of things that are also sort of poor health outcomes in adolescence, such as antisocial behaviors and smoking, drinking, and so on, have gone down. So it isn't like in just all changes have happened in this decade. It seems to be a longer trend that goes back more in time. So although we examined this decade specifically, it does follow trends that go back. Even the sort of alcohol use decreasing, for example, that these trends go back further than that. So it doesn't sort of suggest that a change, that things have been stable for a long, long time, and then we're suddenly seeing lots of adolescent outcomes changing. It's more that these trends seem to have been going on for a while, and we've just tried to map it out in these 10 years. Lots of things you could, so for example, we know for both these generations that their parents have different levels of mental health. So we know that the parents of the more recent generation have higher levels of mental health problems than the parents of the previous generation. So even in adults, you see this trend. So, and it could be to do with growing up in austerity or increasing inequality. So there's lots of things have changed, but we didn't look at causes or explanations for the trends we saw yet. So at this point, we've just sort of mapped out the trends, and in future work, we'll try to sort of start unpacking what might be the explanatory reasons for why we see these patterns. So we didn't look at social media, and obviously in the older cohort, we didn't have that information, so we couldn't even just look at the trends in that use. But it's important to think about the wider research evidence, and actually people who have looked at social media use and mental health haven't found very strong links between those things, and it's a very nuanced picture. So all social media use isn't necessarily bad for your mental health, and there's varieties of social media use. And negative experiences online, I think, mirror potentially negative experiences offline as well. So we know that children who are more likely to get bullied online are also more likely to get bullied in person. So I think it's easy to try and blame everything on social media, but also social media is sort of a reflection of the offline world and the society we live in. So it would probably be sort of us absolving responsibility if we just said, oh, it's all social media, and not trying to actually find out what is changing for adolescents, why they're potentially more stressed, or or maybe it's just the experience of being an adolescent is changing, and we need to understand how and why and what implication that has for their development and health.